Today I want to talk about calisthenics and how it can be immensely beneficial to your strength and hypertrophy training. You don't necessarily have to always do the traditional barbell based training, but you're going to have to train a little bit differently. So traditionally you would use 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions for the basic barbell training, but it's not really going to cut it here because you're using significantly less weight because you're using your body weight. So how do you make it more difficult? Well, first off, you change the volume. So instead of doing 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions, you might do 10 sets of 10. So you're increasing the amount of sets, but then you also decrease the time you rest. So you might rest only 60 seconds, and that's going to make it more difficult. It's going to tax your body more. And the second way is leverages. So what I mean by this is you take the traditional calisthenics movements and you manipulate them in a way to make them more difficult in, say, terms of range of motion or a different variation. So you might go from a push-up to a planche push-up. That's going to make it more difficult, but you can only go so far with this, and you're going to eventually hit a wall, because when you change your leverages, you're making the exercise more unstable typically, and there comes a point where it's just diminishing returns, and the risk of injury is just way too high to consider it anymore if you want to progress. But this is where you can add weight to your calisthenics training. So I'd personally recommend a dipping belt. You can use them in, say, for example, dips or pull-ups, for example, and it's just really easy to track because you're just adding weight to it, and it's just real objective strength and performance gains. And actually here, this is where you can take the traditional gym weightlifting sets and repetitions and apply it to calisthenics. So you can do the traditional 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions. And granted, the movements are different from the traditional compound lifts, but you'll get better at which you train. And all you need to do is incorporate the already well time tested weightlifting strategies to calisthenics. And you might say, well, you want to get better at, say, the traditional barbell bench press and squat and deadlift and whatnot. But the great thing here is that these calisthenics movements, when you add weight, has immense carryover to the traditional barbell training. In fact, powerlifters often use, say, weighted dips because they know it's going to help them with the barbell bench press. Now, there is like a learning curve. So, for example, when you move from calisthenics to barbell training, you're going to be stronger, but you're also going to have to learn the movements as well, because you have to build up the motor engrams if you haven't actually performed those exercises before. But it still helps immensely if you want to go to the traditional barbell training later on. And so yeah, I just really recommend incorporating calisthenics into your training routine. And yeah, that's about it.